We are now in this aparokshanubhuti, especially that fourfold qualification. The first one is viveka, discrimination, vairagya, but generally we go, here is dispassion first, vairagyam, dispassion, then comes viveka, discrimination, shamadama adi satka sampati, sixfold inner wealth in the form of discipline, and the fourth one called desire for freedom, mumukshutta. So in the last class we discussed about vairagyam, also we touched about little bit called viveka. So when he said, look, that there are two types of vairagyam. One is conditional vairagyam, other one is called nirmala vairagyam. So each one of us sometime or other develop this conditional vairagyam, but this conditional vairagyam does not last long. As it comes unexpectedly, also it goes away unexpectedly. Without notice it happens, also without notice it goes away. However, this vairagyam gives opportunity for a person to look into the life. Whereas nirmala vairagyam, like kakavishta, the example was given, neither love nor hatred, but there is indifference. So this udashina bhava, that means that neither you are proud of nor you are feeling low about it. As it happens, so you go ahead. And when it can happen, when the person understands that whatever enjoyment that I am relating with is nothing but temporary. Because bhokta in me, the enjoyer in me, always looks for long time enjoyment, eternal enjoyment. That's why many religion highlights that, after death, especially, you will go to the heaven and permanently you will be dining. So what is that permanently you will be dining? Means that you will remain bhokta forever without any obstructions. And of course, some people will say, no, don't worry. You will go to Golaka Vrindavan, where you will keep dancing dandiya, okay? Play dandiya permanently. At least dining only you will have, only. But if you keep dancing all the time, what will happen? Both are equally dangerous, okay? Anyway, so each one has got their way to highlight that the bhoktrutva in a person, the sense of enjoyership in a person, makes to get attached to a person, object or situation. Whereas when you understand more and more that wherever you are attached to, with whomsoever you are attached to, that attachment is temporary in nature, then what happens? Now, neither you are for it nor you are against it. Because if you are for it, tomorrow you will be against. Because any hatred presupposes love. And of course, any love also will follow hatred. It's simple. That's why after discussing this thing, the next verse that we touched upon called this viveka. So viveka is very simple. When you say, we look at this viveka, because viveka becomes the karana for vairagya. So this karya karana sambandha they have. Relationship between vairagya and viveka is what? Viveka becomes karana, vairagya becomes karya. So karana means cause and karya means product. Now when we look at this viveka, Viveka means, as we discussed, two things we all have. We have to choose anyone, and how do we choose? So we choose based on its longevity, permanence. Anything that we choose, how long it will stay with me. So based on the permanency, we choose. Then of course, nowadays people don't believe in permanent things, so they look at how beautiful it will look, okay? So that is another way. Let me not get into controversy at all. So in short, people choose how permanent without knowing what is permanence, okay? That's another point. That's why if you observe in Kathopanishad, what happened to Nachiketa? So Nachiketas were offered many things. Yavad ichchasi, as long as you wish, that long you will be alive, you will also rule. Everything, whatever you see, everything is yours. But what he said, I am not interested, okay? Keep everything with you. Taveva vahātava nrityagite iti. Keep everything with you. I am not interested in your chariots, in your all the beautiful things, please. Because they are the extension of time. They are not permanent or eternal. So there, how Nachiketas could arrive at. So that is what he says. Nityam here is Atmasvarūpaṃ. We need to understand this, that based on Shruti, Yukti and Anubhava, these three things to be applied here. So Shruti, the Veda says, Atma is Nityam. Other than Atma, other than me, everything is Anityam. Wow, that's why Swamiji, only I want me, everything should be me, okay? Everything should move around me. Hey, I'm not talking about that me, okay? You have to understand what is. That's why we switch over quickly. Brahman is Nityam, other than Brahman, everything is Anityam. Because the moment we say me is only Nityam, then we discover you have all sort of problem. The superiority complex, so better to change to Brahman, so at least you will be confused, okay? Better you to remain confused than being arrogant. Not jokes, because it is easier to deal with a confused person than arrogant person. Can you deal with an arrogant person? Very difficult. And of course, arrogance comes out of confusion, okay? Confusion plus something called arrogance, okay? That is another level, okay? So it is better to compromise one's own self with arrogant person than sorry. It is better to compromise with a confused person than with arrogant person. Okay. However, let us not get into too much. So here he says there are three things. What are they? Shruti, Yukti, and Anubhava. These three are confirming that there is only one thing called Nityam, other than everything is Anityam. One thing that is called eternal, other than that everything is ephemeral. How? So Shruti says that Atma iti. If you want to look at religiously, they will say there is only one thing that is permanent, that is called Īśvara. Other than Īśvara, anything and everything is temporary. Fantastic. Nothing wrong in it. That's also equally good. So let us look at Shruti highlights Atma is permanent. Other than Atma, anything and everything is impermanent. Fantastic. Then let us look at Yukti. So what is logic says? Logic says, Yat dṛśyaṃ tat nashtam iti. Tat anityam iti. Whatever is seen, whatever is perceived, that is what is limited, subject to be destruction. Yat krutam tat nashyam iti. That whatever is created in time, that will be destroyed in time. That is a common logic. So if my happiness that is created in time, Because of something I am happy. Because of somebody I am happy. That something or somebody goes away or changes, will I become happy? It is natural, supposed to, because that which is created in time has to be destroyed in time. If that is not destroyed in time, I will be destroyed, okay? Don't worry. So this is called minimum logic, called yukti. And what is anubhava? My experience. Here you can use the word anubhava is experience, okay? Don't say knowledge, okay? Here experience is perfect. So anubhava says what? Hey, look, whatever I enjoy, thinking that it is permanent, it never becomes permanent. Even if it is permanent, I don't enjoy that either. This is my anubhava. So looking at this as Shruti, Yukti and Anubhava, now what is happening is, this is what we need to understand. Permanent and temporary, I would rather translate as reliable, unreliable, so that it becomes more convenient. That which is permanent, there you rely, there you depend. Whereas whatever is temporary, do you depend upon that? Do you become careful or not? So reliable, unreliable. Can you see this point? So little bit changes we make, so that it changes our thinking. You can see for yourself. That on that person you depend, on that object you depend, whatever you think is permanent. If you discover the person or object is not permanent, do you depend? Do you rely upon? So dependable and not independent, okay? Don't put it other way around. That's why reliable, unreliable. That's the better word, okay? So that it becomes more convenient. And now here it says, look, when I rely on unreliable thing, then what happens? Do I become victim of that or not? Whenever I rely on unreliable, whether it is object, person or situation, do I become victim of that person, situation or object or not? That's why whole life, whenever I am a victim, it's not because of anything. I started relying upon unreliable things or person or situation. So to avoid that, he says, look, nityam iti atma, or atmasvarūpaṃ nityam hi. So this nature of me as such is nityam. Tadviparītagam, whatever dṛśyaṃ is seen is anityam, tadviparītagam. So if this is the case, evaṃ yaha niścayaḥ, that is the most important thing. Evaṃ yaha niścayaḥ means, yes, I know. Not that I don't know, but I am not confirmed. But here he says, in this manner, yaha, the one who has this conformity. So how this conformity should come? Because please understand, we also need to see very carefully. The person must have conviction. And how the conviction comes? Just look at your life. How do you get conviction? In a common way, how do you get conviction? So whatever either you see, you experience, then you process, you are convinced. Or whatever you imagine, you think, based on that you see, hear, experience, you get conviction. Correct or not? That is how all process of conviction. Remember, both are wrong. So both have a fallacy. Why? Let us look at the first. Whatever you see, then you gather knowledge or logic, then you support. For example, you see earth is flat. Not only you see, I see, everybody sees. Then you say, look, I have experienced, because I am walking, look. And all these things look, trees and everything is growing, so it is flat. Now all the logic, all your experience, does it support your seeing or not? Now, is earth flat? So what is the truth? Can you see? Completely opposite. Next, let us look at the other side. So first I first see. First I, my mind suggests. Then after that I start looking for confirmation through my experience. Now the problem here is what you see in your mind. Now you only will see the extension of that in the universe. For example, do you know how many people are living in your neighbor, in a flat, especially when you stay? Years together you must be staying, you might not be knowing your neighbor at all. Why? Because there was no need. But if that neighbor starts fighting with you, loves you may forget, if neighbor starts fighting with you, what will happen? Seeing the car, seeing that floor, do you remember or not? Do you start imagining or not? What? Is he there or not? Is he there or not? What is happening? What is not happening? Do you understand what I am trying to say? So what you think, that only you see. Can you see this point? So that means your thinking only gets confirmed through your experience or through your direct perceptions. That means, in short, all 5 organs of perceptions only reports what continues in the mind. So looking at this common way, what we get conviction is being challenged here. That's why here we bring it, that Shruti Yukti Anubhava. So we first bring Shruti. So that means the word of Shruti has to be put in the forefront. Then when the word of Veda, that we'll be seeing later on, then based on that, then comes what? Yukti. Logically it should be convincing, not that it should be absurd. Or else what will happen in the name of Veda? People will say, look, if you believe in Veda, even if the fire is cold to touch, okay, that should be also supporting you, okay, Yukti. Then comes Anubhava, your experience also must not differ. So when these 3 things are there, then it comes conviction. So here it says, samyak niścayaḥ, very well conviction. That means at no time it can be shaken. Like we say some places, like your name. When I say your name, whatever name you have, whether it's a good name, nickname, because in India we say a beautiful saying, Indians know how to give the name, but never knows how to call. So that's why, Pappu, one popular name is there, Pappu, okay? However, let us say, Pappu has got many meanings, okay? I am not getting into, okay? It has got political meaning, it has got loving meaning, it has got social meaning, it has got many meaning, okay? So political meaning, Pappu is entirely different. Let us not talk, okay? However, the joke apart. So this name that is being given to you, how you are well convinced with reference to name, that even if you are sleeping, somebody calls your name, do you have any doubt? Do you get up or not? Do you wake up or not? Do you respond to it or not? How does it happen? And I will give you also another example. Let us say you are one among the crowd, and somebody calls your name, then what happens? Do you look back or not? You are in an unknown place. Somebody calls, maybe that person is calling some other person, or that name is just related to your name sound. What happens to you? You look back or not? Oh, who called me? What happened? So that means how much you are convinced that you are so and so. Even if in your deep sleep you wake up, even if in a crowd you are not forgotten, that set of conviction must happen with reference to that Brahman is nityam, other than Brahman, everything is anityam, while experiencing anityatvam. So being with anityam, it's like while enjoying the specs or while using the specs, I know it is temporary. It may fall down, break. Even if it does not fall down or break, because after some time I will need bigger number, okay? So if I go for a bigger number, it has no meaning for me. So that is called understanding that, look, it is not permanent, but it helps me to use it. The day I discover that it is painful for me, now while putting it, my eyes starts getting, burning, or I have got headache. Will I use this? Simple logic. What I'll say? That means I need to go to doctor to check my eye. So how this happens? So while using many things, we are aware of it. So here also in any given situation, I know everything is anityam. And this maturity is not a joke. And this maturity to come, the person needs to be always on the toes. And how it will happen? He says, look, these are the sequences. Because when there is viveka, that to this sort of viveka, vairagya comes automatically. And when vairagyam is there, automatically shama comes. Now, these are the consequences. Now we can reverse back to. So when shama is not there, that means viveka is diluted. So what is shama? Let us read it. Sadeva vasanātyāgah samoyam miti shabditaha nigraho bahyavrittinam dama ityabhidhiyate. So in this verse, both shama and dama are being taught. Now he says, look, it's a beautiful concept he brings here. So this is really something to be looked into. So what is that? He says, Vasana tyagah sada eva ayam shamaha iti sabdita. So if you look at the translation, dissociating vasana tyagah, dissociating from vasana. So what is vasana? So vasana is what? Whatever we experience, that those experiences leaves behind some residue in the form of impression. So that means this leftover of past experiences, the residue of past experiences, that generally is in the form of impression, is called vasana. In computer language, is an amazing thing to see. Whenever you store any data, so how does it get stored? So does it get stored in one place? Those who have minimum computing language. Does it get stored in one place? Never. Because your hard disk is spinning. So when it is spinning, all the data get stored in different places of that hard disk. And between when they start storing in different places, there is a pointer. There is a connection. And if you will be shocked and surprised to know, if somewhere that connection is cut, then the file is corrupted. That's why earlier days, nowadays nobody does, okay? Earlier days, we used to do defragmentation. So that was, because everything was very slow system, very less RAM and all these things. Unless and until you do defragmentation, nothing will happen. The computer will cry those days. But nowadays the RAM is so high, you don't need anything, okay? That's another thing altogether. So coming back. So these pointers actually are called vasana. How? Again also I can tell you very carefully. Suppose in your hard disk, you have stored all the data. Then you delete it. By deleting, you think everything is deleted? Don't worry. Everything is not deleted at all. So everything is there in the dormant condition. That residue still is there. So if you use some other software, will you be able to retrieve back or not? You will retrieve back anything and everything. Please understand. So when this happens with reference to your computer or any electronic gadget that we use, now what to talk of this mind? So now here he says, anything that we experience that gets stored in our, let us say, brain. And that is what they say, that modern way of restoring the data, they are planning to restore, already implemented. All this data will be stored through the genes, DNA. That's another, already it is experimented, just a matter of time. And also it is viable commercially. Let us not get into this, very old data I am giving it, okay? Now God knows where world has gone ahead. So coming back here, anything that we experience get stored in this hard disk called brain. So when brain hemorrhage happens, what does it mean? The software is not working. You understand? Don't worry, Swamiji, most of the time my software doesn't work because it's corrupted, okay? Whenever I'm confused, what does it mean? Software problem, okay? Some virus has attacked, okay? So it makes no difference. In fact, it is better to attack in such a way that nothing I remember. However, let us not get into. So here it says that I store anything and everything in my brain first. Now, all these things are stored in such a way, there are pointers. So through these pointers, it connects with other file and huge heavy files. And whenever connection is not proper, that is called dream. So this pointer joins with some other pointer, okay? So you saw that animal having horns Then another is my neighbor is animal, behaves like animal. Then what happens in dream? So your neighbor appears with 2 horns. What a beautiful combination, okay? And you also are afraid, you run away. So how these pointers join together? This is just one example I am giving. Don't. Now what he says, look, anyway, between 2 pointers, always there is association, knowingly or unknowingly. In fact, if you are associating knowingly, you become productive person. If unknowingly you associate, you are a destructive person. See the difference. If knowingly you associate with pointers, you join the pointers, you are a productive person that moment. Whereas mechanically or unknowingly, both way, because with impulsive way, when this join takes place, that time you become a destructive person. Now here he says, you don't have to associate. Anyway, association will happen, whether you like it or not. But instead of associating, he says, dissociating from vasana. So the whole emphasis is on dissociating. So when I dissociate, because please understand, this vasana, these impressions that I have is innumerous, uncountable. Why? Because I have uncountable life. In one life, I was a small insect, okay? How insignificant, one ant. And today I also am scared of cockroach. I was also once upon a time cockroach, okay? So any animal you say, I was. And how much experience, how much these impressions I have, everything is there. Now is it necessary to make them alive, everything? Then what will happen to me? I have to allow the water to flow. I am a human being, that too the seeker of the truth. And moreover, all these things happens to me because of my prarabdha, because whatever I have come forward, or I have carried forward, rather what, I have carried forward. Now, if this is the case, already I am taking away your time. Now, what I need to do here? He says, whole emphasis is on me, is in me, that how to dissociate with this vasana. So that means the residue of my past experience, whatever is there, I need to dissociate. Why and how? Because there are 2 types of residue. One is called subham, other one is called asubham. So subham means that which is auspicious, that which is healthy. Asubham, that means that which is inauspicious, not healthy. So I need to dissociate myself from asubha vasana. So asubha vasana means the vasanas that is not going to be helpful for me, nor going to be helpful for anybody. So that is called unhealthy, that which is not going to be helpful for me, nor helpful for anybody. So whole process here is to put effort, to be aware. That's why always viveka takes over. So when viveka is in forefront, then what happens? Automatically, shama is the result. How? We will see through the example in the next class. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.